Hello, friend. Friends, and welcome to our first Coachella Valley Wildflower Festival Wildflower Wednesday. Tonight's infotainment is brought to you by the City of Palm Desert, the Agua Caliente Band of Cahuilla Indians, and Friends of the Desert Mountains. Our presenter is familiar with wildflower blooms as a professional and as a personal hobby. Tracy Albrecht, known as Tracker in classrooms and on the trail, has guided nature programs in the desert since 1985. As interpretive specialist for Bureau of Land Management, she connects people with natural and cultural resources on public lands, focusing on the Sand to Snow and Santa Rosa and San Jacinto Mountains National Monuments. Together with Friends of the Desert Mountains, Tracy creates outdoor experiences of enrichment with people of all ages. Hey, Tracker, take it over.
Thanks, Karen. Great to be here. It's my favorite time of year now that springtime is emerging and flowers are starting to bloom. Lizards are coming out, insects are flying around, and birds are migrating through. So we're going to be taking the next 30 minutes to study about how to prepare for the wildflower season. And then I challenge anyone watching to use what they learned today and go out, schedule time, and explore the desert, starting in the low elevations, traveling up to higher elevations as the season moves on, so that you get the full benefit of the wildflower season. This year, it's 2021, and it's early March as we are filming this. So far, it seems like it's kind of a late year. Usually we have a few more annuals blooming by now, but just wait. I was out exploring this morning, and there's a lot of plants, annuals and perennials, just budding out, and with the warm temperatures of today and the upcoming week, we'll be seeing a lot more color. Start out, now that you've all prepared, I hope, with some a paper plate or a light colored plate, a tweezers, and a hand lens. Let's step back and review some good books that are nice to have. A general wildflower book might be something like this Golden Guide on Wildflowers. And this is for all of North America. Inside, it has different colors of flowers. And if you've moved to the California desert from another state, you might have a book like that. Also, General About Deserts covers all different types of life forms. It's made by Audubon Society. And it includes photos of wildflowers, different plant communities, reptiles, amphibians, insects, butterflies, spiders, mammals, and birds. So it's like a nice desert encyclopedia. And in the back is useful information on each species. And that's the Audubon Nature Guide to Deserts. Plants, this is a whole set called Flowers, Shrubs, and Trees of the Southwest, put out by Dodge and Janish. If you're up for a challenge, this is a book I use a lot. It takes a little work. It's called California Desert Wildflowers by Sia and Emma Moreheart. And it's got some photos in it, but it's mostly dichotomous key. You have to do a little work to earn your prize of identifying a flower. It's a good tool because you get to know the plants really well. It really challenges your observation skills.
Well, these are awesome too, because a lot of times if you're out in a remote area, you might not have access to your phone for identifying certain things. So you can use a book, old school, analog.
This one isn't exactly about wildflowers, it's about desert plants, called Temelpa, which means of the earth, and it's written by Dr. Lowell Bean and Catherine Sobel. It's a wonderful resource about Native American uses of plants.
Mm.
And it's a full book, rich in information, even nutrition about desert plants used as food. My favorite, my quickest, easy go-to is this one because it's regional for the Coachella Valley. Written by John Stewart, and it's called Colorado Desert Wildflowers. And it's the Southern California region of the Sonoran Desert. And the book is arranged by color, starting with white, going to yellow, orange, and red. So you obviously know the color of your flower, and then you turn to that section. 1, 2, 3, you've got a good identification. And there's some nice information at the base of these pages as well. Colorado Desert Wildflowers by John Mark Stewart. All right, so that's another way to prepare for getting to know plants. We're going to talk now about flowers anatomy. We think of flowers as something beautiful. They smell good. They add amazing color to a desert that usually is different tones of greens and browns. But in springtime, when there's a lot of wildflowers, we have yellow, purple, orange, even blue. Besides giving us a lot of joy and inspiration, flowers are colorful and smell good because their job is not only to increase the quality of our life, but their main focus is to make a seed. And to do that, they need to exchange their DNA and have a seed to contribute to the next generation.
Ladies and gentlemen, the private life of flowers.
Yes. So flowers do have DNA just like animals do. In fact, the female part is called the ovary. So I'm going to draw right here a round circle that represents the ovary. And another female part of the flower is called the pistil. And that is a stem that comes up out of the ovary. And that's it for the female parts. The DNA is in the ovary. The pistil is just a structure to collect pollen. A male part without DNA is a tube or filament called a stamen, S-T-A-M-E-N. And as you may guess, the stamen holds sacs of pollen. The sacs are called anthers, and they carry pollen. And the goal of the flower is to get the pollen transferred down the pistil to the ovary, and then the ovary becomes a seed.
So there's both boy parts and girl parts on one flower?
Yes, sometimes. That's called a perfect flower. And knowing this basic information allows you to discover amazing relationships. Sometimes plants have the same boy and girl parts on the same flower. Sometimes they have it on different parts of the plant. And other plants, like this jojoba, has an entire plant is either male or female. For example, this one is a male. You can see some pollen on this plant, right?
Yep.
And then here is the female, which is not quite ready. Neither is the pollen, but these are tiny little flowers. I've got a good one back here. I think I'll do that. They aren't conspicuous because they're not attracting a pollinator. They use wind for pollination. And then here's last year's flower. You can see these brownish seed pods where they were successful in having flowers pollinated, and they make a great big seed, the jojoba seed. So there's, but they all have the male and female parts, the ovary and the pollen. Sometimes they're on the same flower, sometimes different parts of the plant, other times totally different plants. The only the pollen, let's say from this here tuberosa, only pollen from tuberosa can pollinate the ovary of the tuberosa. Now, by looking at this plant, can you imagine who a pollinator might be? And I chose this first, Karen, because it's one of your favorite pollinators.
It's a hummingbird. Doesn't it actually mean hummingbird or something?
Yes. In Spanish, chupar is to suck, and rosa is generic. So here we have a little hummingbird, and it very conveniently can get its beak all the way down into the base of the flower, where there's not only red to attract the hummingbird, but nectar down there to reward it. And when it does, pollen gets on the hummingbird's face, and as it goes flower to flower, tuberosa plant to tuberosa plant, it pollinates the other flowers. Right. So to attract the flower, to attract the pollinator, this is really all the flower needs to make a seed. The bee comes, collects the pollen in its legs, eventually bringing it to a honeycomb. By doing that, the pollen grains are disturbed and may go down into the pistil. So to attract these pollinators, the flower grows brightly colored petals that act like flags to attract the pollinators to the ovary, the pistil, and stamens of the pollen. So different pollinators are attracted to different colors. There's quite a whole science to this. There's even petals that have landing strips for certain pollinators that our human eyes don't detect, but botanists and entomologists are learning that different insects see different spectrums on the UV scale, and that they have all kinds of ways that the pollinator is communicated to by the flower. Okay.
That is fascinating.
Yeah. Then one more part of the flower that's not really reproductive is a little capsule called the sepal. And that covers the bud before the flower blooms. And of course, the sepal grows a stem, leaves to make food, more of a stem, and roots. Some flowers invest in a long stem, so they grow tall to attract pollinators above the ground. Some other flowers just are really low on the ground. They all use a different economy of energy to invest in a strategic way to get their pollinator to the flower. Other pollinators might be butterflies. Butterflies have those long coiled tongues that get down to the bottom of a flower. They need sort of a landing strip on their flowers. So a flower like this might be nice. The butterfly can actually land on a flat surface to be able to steady itself to get the nectar. How about at nighttime? Flowers often bloom at night, like the Jimson weed, light-colored flowers that resemble the moon, and they'll be visited by bats.
No way.
Bats and moths come out at night, so these flowers are designed to bloom at night.
And they're not toxic to them?
Oh, good point. The Jimson weed, yes, is toxic. It's poisonous. It likes disturbed soil, so it may be near your home. I don't have a specimen today. I haven't seen any. However, it's North America's biggest flower. It can be about this big. Right, and that's a perfect slide to go over the flower parts. Jimson weed, it's also called datura. It's also called loco weed. Very large flower, but this is a great representation of the flower parts. As you can see, the petals are white with a little purple, all connected. But inside there, there's one, like a probe that sticks all the way out of the flower with a green background. That is the pistil. That's the female part. and that's designed to collect pollen. It works the pollen grain all the way down to the base of the flower, which is just off the screen, and that's where the ovary is. This species has white stamens and white anthers, or white pollen. And they're all white to promote the fact that they're there. A little bit of moonlight will reflect off that. Moths and bats are the successful pollinator for this ginseng. They might bloom a couple nights, but they don't have a long lifespan as a flower. After they're pollinated, they create a large seed, about almost the size of a golf ball, that's brown with little spikes on it. Remember, this is a poisonous plant. So
but not to the animals, just to humans.
Well, like if horses eat it, it's poisonous if they eat the leaves, but the pollen is not poisonous to the pollinators.
Cool, good to know.
Okay, so you ready to do your own dissection? I picked a plant out of my yard. This is a bush mallow, and I'd like to start by just attacking the petals. Take your tweezers, whichever flower you have. Before you take the petals off, count them. Flowers also have sort of a formula of numbers of petals to stamens ratio. This one has 5 petals. So sort of the pretty part's gone, but now I've got the exciting part where it's got the male and female parts. For this bush mallow, the stamens and pollen are actually red, and the pistil is sticking out as the same color, so it doesn't really jump out, but just a little bit taller than the others. Down below it's green, that's the sepal. I like to tear those off, and then inside the sepal, I can easily see the ovary. In this case, the ovary is green, and that's quite common on flowers. Okay, my next flower.
And is this the part that kind of puffs up once makes the fruit or a seed?
Yeah, the ovary, in fact, I have some, I didn't set you, I had some common fruit available. Here's an apple, right? Mm-hmm. So this is where the apple was connected to the tree. Here's the inside. These are the seeds. This is the old ovary, formerly ovary. And then back on this side, you can see these little, there's a pistil sticking out and a sepal.
Wow. Now I'm gonna never look at fruit the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, as we eat fruit, it's fun to think about which of the, are we eating seeds? Many times we are with that. No, we don't. Here's a plant that is fairly common in the desert called Bladder Pod. It's named Bladder Pod because of the shape of its fruit. I like this one for the purpose of talking about wildflowers, because here is a flower that's half flower, half seed. I'll hold my plate up behind it so that it's easier to see. You can see that yellow flower, and the ovary has grown out of the flower, and it's dangling there looking kind of like a jalapeno.
Is it already pollinated?
Yeah, it's already been pollinated.
Okay.
Here's one before it was pollinated. It's right there. The leaves, the petals aren't very well developed. This is still a developing flower. Pollinated by bees.
Do bees like yellow?
They do. Let's say that you have done what I suggested, and I'd say put 3 days in the next month wildflower hunting. This time of year, if you live in the desert, you might have visitors, you might make doctor's appointments, other things, schedule your time, and before you know it, the peak of the season is gone. So I encourage people now, before it's too late, put going to see wildflowers on your calendar. And it's kind of hard to do that if you don't know exactly where you're going to go. You can call the Friends of the Desert Mountains or call me at the Bureau of Land Management, and I'm happy to tell you some good places to go. So we're gonna
insider knowledge right there. She's offering you insider knowledge on where to find the wildflowers, ladies and gentlemen.
a book bag here, and these are some typical things I would put in my book bag to take with me when I'm going to go out wildflower hunting. It's different than a hike, and it's different than a road trip. It involves getting in and out of the car many times. It might involve getting on your hands and knees, crawling around. It might be a longer day than you think than you expected, because you may find some really good places to see flowers. So you want to go out prepared, because safety is most important, right? Yes. The first thing you want to bring is water. So bring lots of water, a couple of these, so that you're not taken by surprise. So not one water bottle that you might normally take, but at least two. Something else important, you can be guaranteed that it's going to be warm and sunny. So dress for it and bring a good sun hat, not just a baseball cap. You want to cover the back of your neck, you want to cover your ears. And this hat that's big like this can keep your whole body cool by shading your shoulders as well. First, you want to bring sunscreen. Best to put that on before you leave the house though, right? First aid kit, always good to have that. Make sure that it's got fresh supplies in it. I always suggest a bandana. Bandanas can be wet down to cool yourself off. They can be used around your neck, over your head. If you're kneeling on the ground to get a good flower picture, you can lay it down so you don't get gravel in your knees. All kinds of things, maybe at a lunch stop. You might want to sit on it or use it as a napkin. It's good to bring a map. You may end up driving farther than you think because you might see some flowers blooming along the road, and it takes you farther than you originally planned. And of course, something to record your observations. It's always good to do that while they're fresh in your mind. And this is a good challenge to identify the flowers, and you can make a list of your day as the day progresses. Something you might not think about would be an umbrella. Now, it doesn't rain very often in the desert, so you may not even know where your umbrella is. But a black umbrella is good for a couple of purposes with wildflowers. By opening it up and putting it as a background, you can create a very dramatic look for your photographs. Watch this flower as I see that there. See how that flower can photograph a little better with a black solid background. A black umbrella can help make your photos very dramatic with flower parts that normally might blend into the background. And a black umbrella also can be placed away from the flower you're photographing to block that little annoying wind that keeps your flowers moving and out of focus.
So true. Spoken like a true flower photographer.
If you don't have a black umbrella, the small black trays that come with microwave food can work nicely as well. In case you're out long, you want to bring a flashlight, and always bring snacks as well as a meal. A little extra snacks in case you need it. Even the granola bars you've had in the cupboard for months taste delicious if you've overextended your trip. Other good things is a mirror, just in case you need to use it as a rescue attempt, and a whistle, which blowing 3 times is a sign of emergency instead of yelling. I'm not anticipating anything bad on your wildflower journey, but sometimes we make decisions that cause us to get in a little predicament where we just need a little help. All right, so you're ready to go. Now what you need is to know where to go. And there's a few places that are reliable in the Coachella Valley. Tramway Road is often beautiful with Encelia. That's this yellow daisy here that has, that hillside can have so many Encelia, the whole hillside is solid yellow. At our visitor center, the Randall Henderson Trail has a nice variety of habitat, which creates a variety of different kinds of flowers. But I would also encourage you to start using native plants in your yard. They will bloom according to the season. And there's a whole world out there of migrating insects, birds, moths, bats that will appreciate you using not just pretty plants, but native plants. And when they're in our yards and watered just a little bit extra, it goes a long way of having a great balance of saving water, having plants that last, and are good for wildlife as well. Well, that concludes our wildflower workshop today. You're welcome to keep in touch to find out some suggested places to go through the Friends of the Desert Mountains or the Bureau of Land Management. And we wish you great experiences out as you go out and explore this time of year looking for wildflowers.
Yay! Thank you, Tracy. That was fascinating beyond what I thought it would be. Like you say, I will never look at flowers the same way. Hello, friends. And all righty. We are going to take a little break before we start our second Wildflower Wednesday here, focusing on safety in the desert, because when you're out looking at wildflowers, you still need to be safe. So go grab yourself a fresh beverage, and we will be back in about 7 minutes. All right. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. And welcome to the second Coachella Valley Wildflower Festival Wildflower Wednesday. That's right. It's our second one. Earlier, we just re-premiered last week's. We had some technical difficulties, but it's there now. It is on our YouTube page, and we'll post the link to it on our Wildflower Festival website activities page in just a little while. But we have tonight's event, and tonight's presentation is brought to you by the City of Palm Desert, the Agua Caliente Band of Cahuilla Indians, and Friends of the Desert Mountains. Friends of the Desert Mountains has been putting on the Coachella Valley Wildflower Festival for 14 years now. And even though 2021 is pretty different from the past years, we feel like we're having a good time and people are getting out. They're doing our 30 by 30 by 30 fitness fundraiser challenge. That's right. That means you get out and you move 30 miles in 30 days and you raise at least $30 and you're going to get a pretty cool t-shirt. I got a preview of it today and I think you guys are going to like it. I hope you're digging this year's design. We've had some really great help with that. And we're super appreciative for it. And we're just so glad for the support that everybody gives the Friends of the Desert Mountains as they help take care of our beautiful desert here in the Coachella Valley. One of the many, many things that we do at Friends of the Desert Mountains is our Weed Warrior program. That's right. Try and say that 3 times fast. Our Weed Warrior program. And that is where groups of volunteers get together with our staff and other experts and help remove invasive species throughout the valley, such as fountain grass. That's right. Decorative fountain grass is actually an invasive species. But I am getting ready to share with you, where is it? Hold on. Nobody said I was good at this, right? I would like to share with you our own Weed Warrior. She's our lead Weed Warrior. That is Friends Youth Education Director, Jennifer Prado, and she has a message for us about Saharan Mustard. Okay, let me get my Zoom going here, and I'm going to share my screen right here. And let's hear what Jennifer has to say about.
Hi, this is Jen with Friends of the Desert Mountains. I'm out here on our beautiful Coachella Valley National Wildlife Refuge and State Ecological Reserve. This is invasive Saharan mustard, which threatens not only our endangered species like the Coachella Valley fringe-toed lizard and our beautiful native wildflower, the Coachella Valley milkfish, but pretty much everything else that lives here too. So if you want beautiful wildflower displays, we're gonna have to do something about this. And that's why I'm out here. I'm gonna pull it out by its roots, take off the seeds, make sure they don't set in the sand to grow new plants. That way, we hope later on this year, we'll have some beautiful wildflower displays.
All right. Thank you, Jen Prado, for that comment about Saharan mustard. It is an invasive species, and we are working to eradicate that because that is what's best for the plants and animals that are supposed to be here. Now, as I have told you before, tonight's presentation is brought to you by the City of Palm Desert, the Agua Caliente Band of Cahuilla Indians, and Friends of the Desert Mountains. Now, tonight's desert safety presentation is courtesy of CAL FIRE Riverside County and their fire department. These guys want to impart some knowledge to you on how not, as we say, not to be a statistic. And let me do the old Zoom screen swap out here. Da, 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 da. Yeah, da, 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 da. There it is. And All right. Take it away, Cal Fire and Riverside County Fire Department.
Hi, I'm Mike Beverland, Battalion Chief with CAL FIRE, Riverside County Fire Department. We're in the city of Palm Desert at the Bump and Grind Trail to talk about hiker safety. Our department responds to quite a few inaccessible rescues throughout the county on an annual basis. So we wanted to talk about some of the things you can do to not be one of those statistics. We want you to take plenty of water with you on the trail. We want to make sure that you have eaten enough food so that when you are hiking, you have enough energy to get yourself out of the trail. We want to talk about the environmental conditions and making sure that you have a full understanding of the heat and sun that will be on you on this trail. And then we want to talk about trail safety itself, making sure that you're wearing the appropriate attire to be successful on this trail.
First and foremost, we want you to hike with a plan. Have a good plan. Make sure you notify somebody. That way they know where you're at and where you're going to be at all times. Once you get to that trailhead, we want you to have some sort of a buddy system, hiking with somebody, making sure you have good communication. If you do get hurt, it's crucial that you have your cell phone on you. The cell phone plays an important role in our position. That way we can have good communication with you. We can pinpoint your location via GPS, and we can talk you through any situation possible. If you are hurt on that trailhead, we'd like you to stay on that trail and not move unless there's some sort of a life-threatening emergency that would cause you to move. That way we can have a set location. We know exactly where to get you.
All righty. That was short and sweet, but to the point. Know before you go, have a plan, be safe. And this is even when we're talking about going out to look at wildflowers or to take your daily walk.
All right, well, good morning and welcome.
Hold on a second. I don't even know what's going on here in the background.
We're in a fire station. We got to be really quiet.
Oh, uh-oh.
My voice is going to bounce all over.
Okay. This is what happens when you have a webmaster at the wheel. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we have heard tonight from CAL FIRE, Riverside County Fire Department. We've heard from Jennifer Prado at Friends of the Desert Mountains, and we're going to hear a little bit more from Friends of the Desert Mountains. They are our main sponsor. They're the person who put on the people who put on the Coachella Valley Wildflower Festival, along, of course, with our sponsors, the City of Palm Desert and the Agua Caliente Band of Cahuilla Indians. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, and in the theme of being safe when you are out in our desert, we have Friends of the Desert Mountains, 10 desert essentials, right? The things you need to know before you go. And we have it in both English and Spanish. That's right. So I'm going to share my screen one more time here. Da-da-da-da-da. And here we go. I'd like you to know this is about a 13-minute video, but it's so useful. Let me tell you, when I first got here, this was such a fast forward on making sure that my backpack was my lifesaver. So I really appreciate the information that we have here, and I'm glad for the people who are sharing it in English and Spanish for us right now. So enjoy this, and we'll see you in a few.
Hi there, this is Colin with Friends of the Desert Mountains.
Hola, soy Cindy con Friends of the Desert Mountains.
And we're here today to give you a overview of the 10 essentials of desert hiking.
Y estamos aquí para darles un repaso bilingüe de los 10 artículos esenciales para senderismo.
You may have seen versions of the 10 essentials in different parts of the world or different parts of the country, but here in the desert, we've sort of adapted the list to the 10 essentials to the specific things that you'll find in the desert.
Es posible que usted haya visto alguna versión de los 10 artículos esenciales en otras áreas del país o en otras áreas fuera del país, pero aquí en el desierto hemos adaptado esa lista para que sea relevante a nuestra área.
Carrying the 10 essentials is important whenever you go hiking, but it's especially important here in the desert where the summer temperatures can reach over 120 degrees and the Santa Rosa and San Jacinto Mountains are sometimes incredibly steep and difficult terrain.
Cargar los 10 artículos esenciales es importante cualquier vez que usted practique senderismo, pero es más importante aquí en el desierto, donde podemos tener temperaturas arriba de 120 grados durante el día y donde el terreno de las montañas de Santa Rosa y San Jacinto pueden ser algo difíciles de escalar.
The first essential on the list, and the most important of them all, is water.
El primer artículo en la lista y el más esencial es agua.
So you can carry water in a bladder like this, which fits inside your pack and then has this tube for drinking, or you can carry it in a water bottle.
Usted puede cargar su agua en una vejiga similar a esta, la cual tiene una manguera para tomar el agua, o igual la puede cargar en una botella.
I personally like these bladders because you can keep it in your pack and you don't have to stop and drink. You just drink all day long and it helps keeps you hydrated.
Personalmente, yo prefiero usar una vejiga porque es más fácil de beber el agua y es más accesible también. Y le ayuda a mantenerse más hidratado.
You can use whatever works best for you. You can use a water bottle and freeze it beforehand so it stays cold in the middle of the day. Just make sure you're using a reusable water bottle instead of a disposable plastic bottle.
Puede usar lo que se le haga más fácil a usted. De igual puede también congelar una botella de agua para que se mantenga fresca durante el día. Pero sí le recomendamos que use una botella que se pueda volver a usar para evitar usar botellas de plástico.
A good rule of thumb for the amount of water to bring is at least 2 liters for even a short hike. And for longer hikes, plan on bringing more water, up to 3 or 4 liters per person.
Una buena regla para seguir es cargar un mínimo de 2 litros de agua. Para distancias más largas, 3 o 4 litros por persona.
The next item on the list is food.
El siguiente artículo en la lista es comida.
And we're talking about food or snacks. We're not talking about candy bars or sweets or sodas, but nutritious food like energy bars or dried fruit or nuts.
Y cuando hablamos de comida extra, no estamos hablando de dulces, comida chatarra o refrescos. Estamos hablando de barritas energéticas, fruta seca o igual nueces.
And just like with water, it's important to carry more than you think you'll need.
Y al igual que el agua, es importante cargar más de lo que usted crea que va a necesitar.
The next essential is to know where you are in the world so you don't get lost. And to do that, you need a map and a compass.
Y el siguiente artículo esencial es saber dónde uno se encuentra. Y para eso uno necesita un mapa, al igual que una brújula, para saber dónde se encuentra a todo momento.
So these days, you can get a map and a compass on your phone, and they work pretty well as long as your battery is working. But if you have the old-fashioned paper kind, it'll never run out of batteries.
Y hoy día también existen mapas disponibles, al igual que aplicaciones de brújulas para su teléfono, que igual le pueden ayudar a encontrar su localización, siempre y cuando uno tenga suficiente carga de batería. Pero de igual también es bueno cargar un mapa de papel, el cual nunca se le va a acabar la batería.
Also important to look at your map and your compass and to know how to use them before you leave home so that you're not trying to figure out how to read a map for the first time once you're already lost.
Al igual es importante saber cómo leer un mapa y usar una brújula antes de salir de casa para que no se vea en la situación donde está tratando de aprender cómo leer un mapa y usar una brújula una vez que ya se haya perdido.
The next item on the list is a first aid kit.
El siguiente artículo en la lista es un botiquín.
So they make fancy first aid kits and simple first aid kits. It doesn't really matter what kind you have as long as you have one.
Hacen una variedad de tipos de botiquines, no tiene que ser nada lujoso, hay unos que son muy simples pero tienen los artículos necesarios. Lo importante es que usted cargue uno consigo.
And most important that you know how to use what's inside, especially if you have anything that's more complicated than just basic bandages.
Y lo importante también es saber cómo usarlo, especialmente en casos de una herida seria que requiera más que solamente una curita.
You can take a course in first aid to learn how to use the things inside of a first aid kit and to be better protected when you're out in the wilderness.
Hay cursos disponibles, los cuales usted puede tomar para aprender más de los primeros auxilios y también primeros auxilios para cuando uno está en áreas silvestres.
The next item on the list is a group of items that are all meant to protect you from the sun.
Y el siguiente artículo en la lista es un grupo de artículos que son diseñados para protegerlo a usted del sol.
So you can wear a hat, a nice wide brimmed hat to keep the sun off your face.
Un sombrero con una orilla ancha para proteger su cara del sol.
Sunglasses to keep the sun out of your eyes.
Lentes para el sol para proteger sus ojos del sol.
And sunscreen to keep you from getting a sunburn on the exposed parts of your skin.
Y un protector solar para prevenir quemaduras de la piel debido al sol.
And one more thing to consider when you're out there is to wear long sleeves. It can be a little counterintuitive when it's on a hot day, but the long sleeves will keep the sun off your body and keep you cooler in the long run.
Y otro artículo bueno sería usar camisas de manga largas. Puede que considere usted que no sean apropiadas, pero le ayudan a mantener su cuerpo más fresco y al igual le ayuda a protegerse del sol.
The next item on your list is illumination.
El siguiente artículo en su lista es iluminación.
Again, you have options here. You can bring different things. A lot of you will have a flashlight on your phone. You can have a solar-powered light or a regular flashlight.
Al igual también aquí hay varias opciones. Algunos pueden usar lámpara integrada en su celular. Pueden también cargar lámparas de este tipo que se pueden cargar con solar o una lámpara de baterías.
If you do bring a light that needs batteries, like your phone or a flashlight, you'll need extra batteries to make sure you don't run out.
Si decide cargar consigo lámparas que van a ocupar baterías, es posible que necesite baterías extras para asegurarse que no se le acabe la carga.
The next thing you'll need is something to keep you warm.
Lo siguiente que va a ocupar es algo que lo ayuda a mantenerse.
So there's a couple of different options here. The lightweight one that I'm using right now are these little emergency space blankets.
Hay un par de variedad de opciones. Lo que yo ahorita estoy usando es una cobija de peso liviano.
You can also have an extra jacket that you pack down in your pack or that you tie around your waist.
De igual manera también puede usar una chamarra que pueda cargar en su mochila o igual se la puede amarrar alrededor de la cintura.
It doesn't necessarily seem like you'll need something to keep you warm in the desert, but as soon as it gets dark in the desert, the temperature can drop below freezing in some cases, even on a warm day.
Puede que parezca que no necesita cargar consigo artículos para mantenerlo tibio, pero especialmente aquí en el desierto, pero una vez caiga el sol, las temperaturas pueden bajar severamente, incluso a punto de congelación.
The next item on your list is a whistle.
El siguiente artículo en su lista es un silbido.
You want to carry a whistle so that you can signal other members of your group if you need help or to signal search and rescue personnel in an emergency.
Usted quiere cargar un silbido por el caso de que tenga que señalar la gente de su grupo o igual el grupo de rescatistas en caso de emergencia.
Even a tiny little plastic whistle like this the sound will carry a lot farther than your voice will if you're trying to call for help.
El sonido de un silbido se carga y se oye a distancias más largas que su propia voz, incluso cuando se trata de un silbido de ese tamaño de plástico.
The next couple of items on our list are a little different from some of the other ones you may have seen or some other 10 essentials lists. And the first one is a comb.
Y los siguientes artículos en nuestra lista varían un poco de algunas otras listas que usted haya cuidado de artículos esenciales, y ese primer artículo sería un peine.
So you can, of course, use a comb to fix your hair after a long day on the trail.
Y claro, usted puede usar el peine para arreglarse el pelo después de un día largo en el sendero.
But the real reason to carry one is for cactus.
Pero la verdadera razón de por qué cargar un peine es para protegerse de cactus.
So how can you use your comb to protect against cactus? Well, most people in the desert will eventually end up with a cactus in their boots or attached to their leg, or hopefully somewhere, or not somewhere more painful.
Y bueno, ¿cómo protegerse de cactus usando un peine? Es probable que cuando uno ande en el sendero, especialmente aquí en el desierto, no pase mucho tiempo antes de que se encuentre espinas en sus botas, en sus pantalones, o esperemos no directamente en otras áreas como su cara.
So instead of using your fingers to pull the cactus away and then get more spines in your fingers, you can use the comb, slide it between you and the cactus, and just flick it away.
Y para prevenir que se esté quitando las espinas de tierra en sus dedos, lo que puede hacer es usar el peine para sacarse las espinas de esta manera.
The last item on your list is a mirror.
El último artículo en su lista es un espejo.
Of course, you can use your mirror with your comb to make sure you're looking great on the trail.
Y claro, puede usar usted su espejo junto con su peine para asegurarse que se mire bien en el sendero.
But more importantly, you can use it to signal with the light of the sun over long distances.
O más importante, lo puede usar usted junto con los rayos de sol para mandar una señal a largas distancias.
So you can buy a signal mirror, and I keep one in my longer hiking pack.
Y usted puede comprar un espejo específicamente para el señalamiento. Y yo por lo regular cargo unos tipos de espejos en mi mochila que uso para largas distancias.
Or for shorter hikes, what I just use actually is the surface of my phone. You can angle it against the sun and make a good signal mirror that way.
O para pequeñas distancias, lo que uso es el reflejo de mi celular y con los rayos de sol para también hacer el mismo tipo de uso.
Thank you for joining us. I hope you learned something about the 10 Desert Essentials.
Gracias por acompañarnos. Esperamos que haya aprendido usted algo sobre los 10 artículos esenciales.
Carry them with you. Hopefully you won't need to use too many of them. And feel safer while you're out there exploring our wonderful desert.
Y cárgalos consigo. Esperamos que no tenga que usar la mayoría de ellos y le haga sentirse más seguro cuando esté afuera explorando nuestro bello desierto.
Bye.
Adiós.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I love that you can use those last two items together to make sure that you're looking good on the trail and that you're safe. Oh,
Hi,
boy.
my name is Oscar Ortiz. I'm a council member here in the city.
It's true. Oscar is one of our board members. And somehow I've got to figure out what I've done.
Recently elected
Hold
to the
on,
board
folks.
of Desert Mountains, and I volunteered for this position because I believe
It just never gets old for me. I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. There we go. Hey, Oscar. If you guys want to know more about what we do have going on, please feel free to check out our YouTube channel. We are Friends of the Desert Mountains on YouTube. Can't miss us. And there's lots of information on there, including some of our board members. Now, to wrap up for tonight, come on, lady, get back to what you're doing. We are almost to the middle of March. Well, no, we're really only the second weekend, and we are just going gangbusters with our Coachella Valley Wildflower Festival, the activities that we have, quote unquote, going on so that people can go out and enjoy the desert and be smart about it and really learn about it and appreciate it and explore all of your senses in it. We're just really enjoying the opportunity that we have this year to not be together, but to really share some information with you. And we're having such a great turnout for our 30 by 30 by 30 fitness fundraising challenge. We actually have about, I think, almost 150 people signed up. We've got 20 plus teams. Competition is going out there. There's people who are teams that are really good at raising money, teams that are really good at doing their miles. And there's teams that are great at sharing our story. And there's teams who are just having a good time. You know, all you have to do is raise $30 and you're going to get our fabulous t-shirt. And on the front will be this great design. can kind of guess that it has to do with the logo that you see everywhere. And on the back, it'll have the logos of all our sponsors. We have so many wonderful sponsors. Let me tell you, our two main sponsors for this event right here, Wildflower Wednesday, and we'll be back next Wednesday at 6. Brought to you by City of Palm Desert, the Agua Caliente Band of Cahuilla Indians, and presented by Friends of the Desert Mountains. You want to know more about what's going on? desertmountains.org, 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 and you cannot miss Coachella Valley Wildflower Festival. We will see you next time. That's right. We'll see you next Wednesday. Check out the stuff we have. There's all kinds of activities. We have a wildflower guide, we have scavenger hunts, we have a nature hunt, things for kids to do, things for adults to do, things to just do. So get out there and enjoy it, and hashtag